Hey, buddy. Good morning, everybody. It's Jeff Goldberg for the Sales Pro Network. And you didn't know this if you're in the Sales Pro Network, but this is Duke. He's also known as the Beach Pug. And he is our mascot. He's the official mascot of the Sales Pro Network. And he does not want to be up here. So go ahead, buddy. Go back and lay down. I'm Jeff Goldberg. I'm the founder of the Sales Pro Network. We're using new technology today. We're using StreamYard. I'm hoping this is showing up in the Sales Pro Network. Fingers crossed. This is the first time for me to use StreamYard to broadcast because Zoom no longer connects automatically to Facebook. So we're giving this a shot. Anyways, I founded the Sales Pro Network to be a place for salespeople to share their successes and challenges. It's a place to elevate the profession of sales. You can come in and ask questions and get great coaching from people like myself. Our great guests and many of my competitors are also members. And it's just a place where every Friday at 10 a.m. I do a live broadcast. And typically I'm interviewing someone who can add value to the profession of sales. There's no guest today. I'm the guest because we're going to continue our training series. Something about this is if you did not click on the link to connect your name to via StreamYard to Facebook, if you do leave comments, I won't know who you are. I can see a chat, but we'll just do the best we can. We'll figure this out as we go. So today we're going to do a training on negotiating skills and also how to become a trusted advisor. This is part of our conversational selling skills series. And in that series, we've had 2 sessions already where we've covered things like how to establish rapport, how to ask the right questions, how to deliver a brief commercial, how to confirm information. We've talked about giving presentations and we've talked about closing. In the 6-step process that I teach, the 5th step is negotiation skills. So I'm going to share my screen here, which I think I figured out how to do on StreamYard. That's not working. Okay, and that's not working. Ouch. Hang on, we're getting there. Okay, I think I got it. I believe that you guys can now see my screen, so fingers crossed that this is actually working. We're going to talk about negotiation and becoming a trusted advisor. So the first thing I want you to know is I do this negotiating piece as part of my conversational selling skills program when I train more major corporations. And I always like to start out by saying this, by asking the question, what is the very best way to negotiate? In sales, many of us have to negotiate our price. Sometimes we have to negotiate all kinds of things, including price and terms and conditions and things like that, delivery dates, guarantees. And people often consider negotiating something else that they're doing. So what's the best way to negotiate? I always start out a negotiating seminar by saying this: don't negotiate. Now, do I really mean don't negotiate? Of course not. What I mean is don't do what the typical salesperson considers negotiating. And that sounds like this. Hey, Jeff, can you do any better on the price? Sure, no problem. That's not negotiating. That's discounting. Negotiating is something very different. When you automatically drop your price just because a prospect asked or because you think you're losing the deal and you think dropping the price is the smart thing to do, don't consider that a negotiation because it's not. It's discounting. And I like to use my favorite technical sales training term when I talk about how I feel about discounting. Discounting, here's that technical sales training term, it sucks. Discounting sucks. There is a reason why you charge what you charge, or why your company tells you to charge what they want you to charge. And that's because somebody at some point sat down with one of those green visors and a sharp pencil and one of those green lights, and they figured out, here's how much we need to charge in order to make money. And you should want yourself and your company to make money. Because if they don't, how do they pay for the building that you're in and the electricity and the laptop that they've given you or that you bought for yourself? All the things that you need to do to run your organization or your personal business, all that stuff is part of the price that you typically ask for. And when you drop your price just because somebody asked or because you haven't shown enough value, you're hurting yourself, especially if you work at least partly on commission, and you're hurting your company. So when I say don't negotiate, what I really mean is don't discount. Negotiating is something very different. So in order to avoid negotiating, first thing we have to understand is there's a difference between a sales negotiation and typical negotiations in life. The way most people think about negotiating in life is really what we know as collective bargaining. If you think about, for example, those of you who are old enough to remember years and years ago when the New York City Transit Authority went on strike. The New York City Transit Authority, for those of you who are in other areas of the world, it's the people who run the subways and the buses and things like that. And years ago, they went on strike. They shut down everything. There were no buses and no subways. Now, when you think of that type of negotiation, the union negotiating against the company, the organization, you think of a bunch of big fat guys with cigars in a smoke-filled room sitting across the table from each other. And on one side, you've got people saying, we want more pay, big cigar. And on the other side, they're smoking a big cigar too. We're not going to give you more pay. We want better benefits. We're not going to give you better benefits. Well, in that type of a negotiation, we know that at some point, they are going to come to an agreement, because there's no way that New York City was going to allow the transit authority to not work forever. We need our buses. We need our subways here. So eventually you have to come to an agreement in that kind of a negotiation. The difference in a sales negotiation is you do not have to come to an agreement. It's not like if you don't make the sale, you're going to die, or like if the company that's negotiating with you doesn't get your product or service, that they're going to die. Now, nobody's going to die, I hope, in the New York City transit strike, but I think you get what I'm talking about. In a sales negotiation, both sides can walk away. So what we want to do is we want to change kind of our mindset about negotiating with a company when we're trying to do business with them or with a person. And we want to have some skills in order to do that. The first thing is, in order to avoid negotiating, is you've got to be able to defend your price. There's a reason why you charge what you charge, and that's because you believe there's a particular amount of value that you bring to the table, and what your client, your prospect, who you hope to become a client, is working with you for is to get that value, whatever it is you bring to the table. In my case, it's increased sales, sales coaching, sales training, all the things that I offer. So you have to be able to show them why what you're going to deliver is well worth the asking price. And if they don't see the value, because people buy two things when they buy from you. They buy the relationship, they buy you, and they buy the value that you bring to the table. So if you're not really, really good at expressing the value in a way that your prospect completely understands it, they're going to give you a hard time, especially about price, almost every time. You've got to know exactly what it is you bring to the table, and you've got to be able to communicate it to your prospect in a way that they go, ah, I see. Does that mean they won't negotiate with you at all? They may try, but they're less likely to push for a lower price if they see the extreme value that you're bringing to the table. So you've got to be able to understand every aspect of what you bring to a negotiation, to a potential sale, and why it's worth that money. Now, in many books that you might have read about negotiating, it talks about winning and losing. Your job is to beat the other person. I don't think that's true at all. In a real negotiation, you should be trying to create a win-win. And in my book, you either both win or you both lose. So either you're going to get my product or service and I'm going to get your money and your business, or you're not going to get my product or service and I'm not going to get your money or your business. So we should be trying very hard not to crush the not competition, not to crush the other person that you're negotiating with, but really to come to an agreement that works well for both of you so that you both walk away feeling good about it. And the best way to start is by thinking in advance, actually strategizing before you sit down to negotiate with somebody. And you want to think about things like, what challenges, what objections do I think my prospect is going to come up with in this negotiation? Because in any sale, you want to be able to anticipate the objections, the challenges that they might put in your way. Because if you've anticipated them, you can think about how you'll respond to those objections. So certainly you want to try to figure out what are the things that might be in the way on my prospect side. You also have to clearly understand, in order to sell them and to negotiate effectively, what challenges are they facing and how does your product or service help them beat those challenges, fulfill their needs? What is it that they're trying to accomplish and what's behind that? Not just what are they trying to accomplish, but why? What's the why? And we salespeople often don't care about the why. We should. The more we know about our customers' why, about our prospects' why, the better the chances are of them turning themselves into our customers. And finally, you should be thinking about, in case I get an objection in this negotiation, what verbal proof stories can I tell? What stories can I tell about a similar situation that I was in where I was negotiating with somebody else and how we worked it out well for both of us? All those things will make you a more powerful negotiator and a better able to come as close as possible to your asking price, because that should be your goal, your secondary goal. The first one is create a win-win, but the second one is certainly, how do I end up as close as possible to my asking price? That's what I believe. Now, here are some of the principles of highly effective negotiating. The first one is the outcome has got to be seen as fair. It is possible on occasion that you will be negotiating with a prospect and you actually can crush them, but you won't get a long-term customer that way. You may get one sale, but you're not going to get a long-term customer. So the outcome has to be seen as fair by both parties. If somebody's negotiating with you and they crush you, you're not going to be happy about delivering the business. You may actually choose not to do it at all. So we want to make sure that the outcome is being seen as fair by both sides of the table. And you must negotiate from a position of strength. Now, if you can't negotiate from a position of strength, you have to at least act like you are. Now, think about this. In a negotiation where the prospect has the money, what is your position of strength? There's not a lot. They can always say no. They can always walk away unless you've got what they want and need, and they absolutely have to have it, and they can't get it anywhere else. You don't really have a lot of strength. But there is one thing that I've discovered that enables you to be strong in your negotiations with a prospect. It's the only thing I've been able to come up with, and it is you don't need the business because you've got so much else going on. If you are not consistently prospecting and consistently putting new prospects into the top of your funnel, then you cannot negotiate effectively. You cannot negotiate from a position of strength. Unless you can walk away from the table and turn down the deal because it's just not worth it to you, you cannot negotiate from a position of strength. That's why when a salesperson is working on one deal or maybe two deals at the time at the most, they can't negotiate effectively. They can negotiate, but they're not going to have any strength because they need the deal. When you need the deal too badly, first of all, the customer smells commission breath reeking out of you. They know you need the deal, and they know they've got you. But when you've got lots and lots of deals that you're working on at any given time, it puts you in a much more effective and strong position to negotiate because you can always say, hey, I'd love to work with you. I just can't do it for this price. If you ever change your mind and want to work with me and you're going to be a little more realistic about the pricing and we can come to some agreement that works for both of us, I'd love to work with you. But for now, gotta go. It's the only way I found. So you either need to have lots and lots of prospects in your pipeline so that that one deal's not too important, or you have to be a great poker player. I'm not a great poker player, but I do have a pretty decent poker face. And I've certainly been in my career, which is almost 48 years now in sales, I've been on the other side of the table more than once where it's like, I need this deal. I need it badly. The rent's due, the car payment's due. Got to take care of the kids. Well, actually not the kids because that's been quite a while. And it's been a long time since I've had that kind of trouble not having enough prospects. But unless you're a great poker player, you've got to have a bunch of prospects in your pipeline in order to negotiate effectively. Now, constant prospecting, consistent and effective prospecting certainly improves your position for the reason I just gave you. If you have lots and lots of deals you're working on because you've been prospecting consistently and regularly speaking with new people and moving them through the process, you are more confident in your negotiations. And confidence is certainly one of the things that you need to have when you're negotiating. That's that position of strength we're talking about. And always remember that discounting is the lowest form of negotiating. It's not negotiating at all. So before you negotiate, there are some things you should be considering. The first one, what is my drop dead walk away point? And I would assume that you all know what I mean, my drop dead walk away point. That is the price. If it's 1 penny less, I'm not taking the deal because it's just not worth it to me. If you don't know what your drop dead point is before you start negotiating, then you may negotiate too low and you may end up taking a deal just because you want the deal. And then later on realize, I'm not making money on this, or the company's making money and I'm not making money. And there may be some reasons why you want to close a deal where you don't get a commission, but the company makes some money, or there could be a million situations like that. But you've got to know what your drop dead walk away point is so that you can walk away at the right time if you're going to. You should also be thinking about what type of customers are similar to this one for a similar product or service that I was offering, and what kind of deal did I come up with that worked in that situation? Many times, if you've done something before, it'll work here too. So you should always be thinking about that. What type of pricing did I offer? What type of deal did I structure that worked well and allowed both sides to walk away feeling good about it? I also always like to advise people, think about what little or very low cost or no cost resources you have available. What can you toss into the package after you've started negotiating that doesn't really cost you anything, or if it does, very little? And a perfect example for me in my world would be if I'm offering a training program to a company and they're balking at the price. I might say, well, how about if I throw in, excuse me, how about if I throw in a follow-up session where about 3 weeks after I do the training for your team, we'll get together again, or we'll hop on a Zoom call for an hour. I'll reinforce everything I taught them, answer any questions, and move on. That's a little or no cost resource I can throw in, which makes the deal more attractive. The prospect thinks they're getting something for nothing or something for something of value, and it doesn't cost me very much. Now, does it cost me something to throw in that reinforcement piece for an hour? Of course, because in my business, I'm selling both my time and my intellectual property, my experience and my skills. So the hour that I'm giving away does cost me something, but you can bet I'm going to plan that at a time on my calendar when there's nothing else going on. So I'm giving away my time, but I'm not losing a heck of a lot. And another thing to consider pre-negotiation is there any way I can bundle services together to make the package more attractive? The cable companies are famous for this. I happen to use Verizon Fios at my home office, and I can buy their phone system, their phone service. I can buy their internet service, or I could buy their TV service. But you know that when you buy all three services together, they dramatically discount it because that's exactly what they're looking for. So sometimes in your company, there may be a way to bundle some services or products together and make more on some, less on the others, still come out with a nice profit for yourself. And the customer, the prospect, turns themselves into a customer, and they're happy too. So before you're negotiating, you've got to think, what is my main contact? Not just the company, but what is my main contact trying to accomplish? Because the person you're negotiating with may not have the same goals as their company they're working for does. Sometimes they're looking to look better to their boss. Maybe they're going to get a promotion based on this. But you want to be sure that you're thinking about what is it that the person I'm negotiating with, and please don't think against. You should be thinking that you're on the same team here. Even though you're two different companies, you're working together to come to an agreement. What is it that they're actually trying to accomplish? And you'll know that by asking. What do I know about their past buying patterns? If you've done business with a company previously and you've negotiated with them before, you can pretty much bet that's how they're going to negotiate with you too. And I believe you actually train your customers that you'll discount. So if you discount once, you've trained them that you're going to discount every time. If you negotiate a little bit, that's what they'll train them that you're willing to do. If you negotiate a lot and you're willing to come way down in price, that's what they're going to be used to. So you are training your customers each time you interact with them. So if you've dealt with them in the past, you should be figuring out what's worked for me in the past with this particular customer. What's their decision-making criteria? If you don't know what a prospect's decision-making criteria are, then you're in a bad position. And you know that by asking them. I'm just curious, what's going to affect your decision? What are the elements that you're going to be considering when you make a decision whether to work with me or not? You've got to ask those questions. And also an important negotiation, does my prospect have any other options? Typically, the answer is yes, but sometimes it's no. If somebody needs something on May 1st and you're negotiating with them on April 30th, there's very little opportunity for them to go out and find somebody else to do what you do in a day or two. It's possible, but it's not likely. So there are situations where your prospect may not have many options, which puts you into a better negotiation position. Now, the number one mistake that I find salespeople make when they're negotiating is, can you do any better on the price? Excuse me. Can you do any better on the price? Can you do any better on the fee? When you get asked that question, it does not necessarily mean that you're not going to get the deal. It doesn't mean that at all. It's just a question. Now, sometimes it means you might not get the deal, but I expect everybody I speak with to ask me the question, can you do better on the price, when I tell them about the investment that they're going to be making with me? Expect that question, be okay with it, and don't automatically drop your price just because somebody asked the question. Look, I always want the best possible price I can get when I'm buying something. But I also, this is just me, I also want the person that's selling to me to be making a profit, because if not, and I need help later on or service, they're not going to want to take care of me. A perfect example is when I bought my first house, my now ex-wife and I decided we were going to put in new windows. And we got quotes from 3 different guys. Now, we very much liked the first guy who came in. He showed us the windows that he was going to put in. They seemed good. So I've checked out 2 other places that sold the same windows. And both of them, when I spoke to them, asked, have you spoken to anybody else and what price did you get? And I gave them the price that the first guy gave me. And both of the other 2 companies informed me there's no way that this guy can put in your windows at the price he gave you. He's clearly made a mistake because he's losing money on the deal. Now, my first thought was that these guys were trying to rip me off because they wanted to get a deal and they were trying to make the other guy look bad. But what happened was I called the guy and I said, hey, I don't remember his name now. It's many years ago. I think Rob or something like that. And I said, hey, Rob, I actually have checked out your price with a couple of other places and you've come up with the best price by far. And I'd like to do business with you. But here's what's happened. Both places told me that there was no way you could install the number of windows and the quality that I've asked for in my home at the price you offered me. And they both believe you're going to lose money on the deal. So here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to go back and check your numbers and get back to me to make sure that you're not losing money on the deal. And he said, thank you very much. And I'll give you a call later. And it only took about a half an hour when he called me back and he said, wow, I'm so glad you called. I actually did make a mistake and I am losing money on this deal. But I want you to know, here's the type of businessman I am. I will absolutely positively stick to that price and I will install your windows. My response was, thank you very much. I appreciate your being a man of your word. But here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to go back and take a look at your numbers, and I'd like you to throw in a realistic profit because I want you to make money on the deal. I don't want you retiring on my windows, but I do want you to make money because if I need your services later, if something goes wrong with anything or I want to use you again, I want you to be happy to do business with me. I'm not looking to get the best price to screw the other person because I want to do business with people regularly. So he ended up doing the windows. He was happy. I was happy. And my ex-wife, who still owns those windows, I think is happy too. You need to become an expert at justifying why your price is your price. So here are the golden rules of negotiation. The first one is don't negotiate against yourself. I've done a lot of work with people who sell advertising, and I've actually gone into the field with people who sell advertising, including local advertising. And in advertising, they call the price the rate card. The price list is called the rate card. It used to be a physical card. I don't think it is anymore. But I've walked into places like a Carvel or a local dry cleaners with an advertising salesperson who says, hey, Steve, we came out with a new rate card, but don't worry, I'm going to take care of you. You're offering to drop your price before they even asked you to. That doesn't make any sense to me. That's like punching yourself in the face. It doesn't make sense. If you're going to drop your price at all, at least wait till the prospect asks you, because they may not. They may be okay with whatever price you offer, and they may feel like me that you're entitled to turn a profit. You're entitled to make money. And here's what I really consider the number one negotiating rule, golden rule. Never, ever give up anything without getting something in return. When you give up something, for example, a better price, without getting something back from your prospect, you're back to discounting. You're not negotiating, you're discounting. So you want to make sure that in any true negotiation, when you give something up, like a better price or better terms, you're getting something back. And I'm going to give you an example here. Several years back, I was sitting here in Long Beach in my beach house, a block from the ocean, which is a place I love to live because I adore the beach. And my phone rang, and it was mid-February. I answer the phone, and I hear on the other end, hi, my name is Maria. I'm the secretary of the, I always forget the name of this Sales and Marketing Executive Association of Puerto Rico. My name is Maria, and I'm the secretary of the Sales and Marketing, the Puerto Rico, no, that's it, the Sales and Marketing Executive Association of Puerto Rico. We got your name from Citibank, Jeff. Citibank, a client that I used to do a lot of business with. We got your name from Citibank, and they speak incredibly highly of you. I'm wondering if you would like to come to Puerto Rico at the end of March and speak to 350 members of the Sales and Marketing Executive Association of Puerto Rico. So I want you to know that in mid-February, when it's a little chilly here in New York, here's what it looked like when Marie asked me that question. Puerto Rico in March. Yeah, that sounds pretty darn good to me. I was pretty excited to go to, I'd be excited to go to Puerto Rico anytime, but certainly at the end of winter, I was very excited at the thought. And I said, Maria, I would absolutely love to come to Puerto Rico next month. And Maria and I had a lovely conversation for about 45 minutes. The first question I asked her was, hey, Maria, I'm just curious about something. Remember, a softener. I'm just curious is a softener. It's a word or a phrase that you put before a question, which softens the question and makes it more conversational. And I said, I'm just curious, do the members speak and understand English? Because I speak Spanish un poquito. And she laughed at that joke. And she goes, yes, everybody speaks and understands English. So there's no problem there. And we had a great conversation for about half an hour, 45 minutes. And we got to the end. And Maria says, well, this all sounds terrific. I see why Citibank recommended you. And I'd like to have you come next month. And I asked, Maria, do you have any other questions for me? Anything else that you want to know? And Maria said, no, we're good. And I said, are you sure there are no other questions? And she goes, no, I'm really good. This seems terrific. And I said, well, Maria, I actually think there's one more question that you'd like to ask me. And Maria paused for a moment. And then she said, I'm sorry, Jeff, what's the question? And I said, Maria, I don't do this for free. And she laughed and goes, oh my goodness, that's right. I forgot to ask you, how much do you charge? And I gave her the number that I was going to charge for coming to Puerto Rico and giving a 3-hour talk on a Friday. And here's what I heard on the other end of the phone. This was not via video, it was via telephone. I heard this. I heard a large sigh. And while I couldn't see her, I kind of figured out that I might have just given her a number that was more than her budget. And I said, hey, Maria, I'm a student of body language and I can't see you, but I heard you sigh just now. So I'm going to take a wild guess that the investment number I just gave you was more than your budget allows. Is that correct? And Maria said, yes, Jeff. I'm sorry to say that we don't have that much money in the budget. Now, I'm hoping you're all thinking of the next question that I asked her, because the question was, Maria, how much over your budget am I? Because I don't give away money, but I also know I'm getting a free trip to Puerto Rico because my customer pays for me the moment I leave my house to the moment I get home. So they're going to pay my parking at the airport, plane fare, meals, hotel, everything. And I thought, well, maybe if the number is still good, I'd still be willing to do it because I'm going to get a day in Puerto Rico. And Maria gave me the number in her budget. And the really good news for me was we were just $500 off. I was $500 more than her budget allowed, which in my mind said, Jeff's going to Puerto Rico next month. Because while I'll fight any of you for $500 and I need $500 just like the rest of you do, I could easily afford to give away that $500 and still make a very, very nice fee for a 3-hour speech in Puerto Rico. But I don't give away money. So here's what I did say to Maria. Maria, I'd really like to do this. And here's how I think we might be able to work it out. You don't know this about me, but I love the beach. In fact, I'm a block from the ocean right now. I live in a beach house all year round. Every vacation I take involves a beach. I don't go anywhere where there's no beach. I've been to most of the Caribbean islands, but amazingly, I've never visited Puerto Rico, and I would love to do that. So you're going to fly me out on a Thursday night because you want me to give the talk on Friday morning. You don't want me to arrive exhausted from traveling since 3 a.m. So here's what I propose. I'm going to guess that you'd also like me to leave on Friday afternoon so that you're not paying for an extra night of my hotel. Is that right? And Maria said, yes, that would be great if you can do that. And I said, well, here's what I'm willing to do. I can take $500 off the investment if you'll pay for my hotel for Friday and Saturday night, because I would love to spend a day or two on the beach in Puerto Rico. And it took a millisecond before Maria said, done. Why? Because the El San Juan Hotel, where the meeting was being held, is a member of the Sales and Marketing Executive Association of Puerto Rico. And Maria knew that she was going to be able to get that hotel room paid for with no outlay for her. All she had to do was go to the management and say, hey, I need to pay the speaker a little bit more, and I need 2 nights. So here's what happened. If you think I was going to go to Puerto Rico and fly back on a Friday afternoon, you're crazy. Even if she didn't say she'd pay my hotel, I was still going to stay on my own dime. And if you've been to the El San Juan Hotel, you know, or at least the suite they gave me, was certainly worth more than $250 a night. So I actually made out on the deal. By dropping my fee by $500 and negotiating to get 2 free nights, I actually made a better deal. And in fact, I ended up staying 3 because I just love the beach and it was very lovely to be in Puerto Rico. So you never want to give something up without getting something in return. In this case, for me, a couple of days on the beach at the El San Juan Hotel. So the practical rules for negotiating, ask yourself, when is it that I actually need to walk away? I need to be prepared to defend my pricing, and I'm never going to offer to discount, and I'm always going to make sure when I give something up, I get something back. So I hope that was useful for you guys, and we're now going to move on to today's second subject, which is how to become a trusted advisor. And that's a phrase that most of us are aware of, but very few of us ever take the time to try to do. We should. So there are kind of a stairway to the sales relationship. At the very lowest level of the sales relationship, your prospect considers you a salesperson. Now, I'm not embarrassed to be a salesperson. I'm very proud of what we do for a living. I think sales is a proud profession, and I have no shame whatsoever about it. So I'm proud to be in sales. But what I want to do is, in my prospects, in my customers' eyes, I want to raise myself, my value to them in a way that they start thinking of me more of as a source, and then a key supplier, and then a customer advocate, and a valued partner. And finally, the highest level is trusted advisor status. At trusted advisor status, well, at the bottom, you have no relationship whatsoever, or very little relationship, and you're just trying to sell them things. You're trying to sell them products and services. As you raise yourself, as you climb the stairway towards trusted advisor, the relationship becomes stronger and stronger. Your prospect becomes a customer, your customer knows you, and you know them. And when you're at the trusted advisor level, they think of you not just as a salesperson who sells a product or service. They consider you somebody who actually knows what they're talking about and can add value to their organization in ways that are more than just what your particular company offers. They will actually advise you, seek you out for your advice. For example, I have clients who consider me a trusted advisor, and it's not all of them. I'm always seeking to get to that level, but I have clients who call me up and say, "Hey, Jeff, I need an employment attorney. Do you know anybody?" Absolutely do. I know Doug Rowe. I need somebody who can get me outsourced HR. I know lots of people who do that. I know marketing people. I know financial service. I know lots. I happen to be connected to a lot of incredibly great professionals through the networking group I belong to for a long time. And at the trusted advisor level, your clients will reach out to you for advice on all kinds of things. For me, not just sales training. Certainly, I have clients all the time asking me about CRM systems. Now, that's not my area of expertise. I know a little bit about them, but I certainly know a lot of people who can point them in the right direction. So you always want to be doing everything you can to be climbing the stairway towards trusted advisor. A trusted advisor is a company or an individual like you and me that's been given a seat at their table. You're not just seen as another salesperson, as another person who brings them stuff. You're seen as a partner that can help them achieve all their goals. And this is where you want to get to. So how do you know if you're a trusted advisor? Well, the first way is if they're asking you for general industry information, if they're asking you for customer specific issues that really don't have a heck of a lot to do with what you particularly do. So when my customers come to me and ask me for things not related to sales, I know I'm a trusted advisor. If you're brought into the conversation early on in the decision-making process, especially if you're somebody who responds to RFPs. If you're a trusted advisor, you're going to find out about the company's RFP before they've even offered it to the general public. And a lot of the times, they'll ask you to help them write the RFP, and that's a great position to be in. If you are somebody who responds to RFPs, the best thing you can possibly do is get involved in helping your customer write the RFP. My mentor, Steve Bookbinder, who's a brilliant trainer and strategist, taught me that when a customer sends you an RFP, a prospect, that what you want to do is you want to get in touch with them and ask them a bunch of questions to find out, is this really what you're looking for? And the reason for that, and it makes perfect sense when you understand it, the RFP is not usually written by the person who's going to use the product or service that the RFP is asking for. It's usually written by a consultant or a committee or somebody else in the organization that's not really going to end up using it. If you can get in touch with the person that's going to use it, you can actually help them shape the RFP to ask for what you are. And I actually saw my mentor do that. We got an RFP at the company I used to work for before I opened up my own to do a program down at Disney World. And my mentor, Steve, very much wanted to head down to Disney World because he figured he'd take his family with him to do it. They actually got in touch with the prospect, had a conversation with them, and found out that there are things that are in the RFP that were not really what this guy was looking for. And Steve was able to help him rewrite the RFP in a way that it was worded such that our company was exactly what he needed. And indeed, we won the deal. Steve got to head down to Disney World, do the program, make some money for the company, and a vacation for his family. So when you're a trusted advisor, you're being brought into the conversation early. You're connected to more than just one person in a company. If you are a trusted advisor, you don't just have one contact. You know a lot of people in the company. It's kind of like what you want is at Cheers. If you ever saw the TV show Cheers, there was a guy named Norm. He was one of the characters. And every time Norm would walk into the bar, everybody in the bar would say, Norm. That's what you want to be. If you're a trusted advisor, many people, maybe everybody in an organization knows you, depending on the size. Upper management definitely knows who you are. If you're a trusted advisor, the upper management of the company that you're a trusted advisor to, they know your name. Why should you want to become a trusted advisor? Well, you have a much better chance of retaining a client long term if they consider you somebody of great value, not just somebody who sells products or services. If you're a trusted advisor, you hear of new needs, new wants, new desires, new initiatives that they have very early in the process, which gives you a better chance of closing more business. You get to discover their concerns because they are open with you about feedback, both positive and negative, and they give it to you quickly when you need it and regularly. It's more likely, if you're a trusted advisor, that you're going to get better information from them because they feel a bond of trust with you. If you're a trusted advisor, they trust you. And customers sometimes hold back information if there's not a complete trust relationship. At the trusted advisor level, you absolutely will get better data and better information, and you can help steer the partnership in a direction that serves both them and you. So becoming a trusted advisor is highly desirable as a salesperson. There are some obstacles, though. If indeed you're focused on what you have to sell rather than what the best service is to the customer, you are not going to become a trusted advisor. When we're pushing a product or service because that's what we've gotten, I need to make a commission, that's not a trusted advisor. A trusted advisor provides solutions that actually mesh. It's what I've got and what you need. If you're not investing the time or the money or the resources that it takes to build trust, that's a big obstacle. It's not easy to get to the trusted advisor level. It takes work, and it often takes both time and money and resources. So if you're not investing that type of thing, it's going to be very hard to become a trusted advisor. If you're emphasizing the sale itself over what it's going to do for the person or the company, that's an obstacle to becoming a trusted advisor. And that's when you're selling features as opposed to selling benefits. Remember, features are what something is or has, benefits are what something does, and people buy what things do. So if we're emphasizing the is or has, people aren't seeing you as a trusted advisor. They're seeing you as a pushy salesperson. And if you're failing to demonstrate that you've got the knowledge and the expertise and the skills and the desire to help them, you're probably not going to become a trusted advisor with your customer. So you want to show them that you care about them, not just making the sale. You want to show people and organizations, I care about you. I will do whatever it takes to exceed your expectations. And notice that I said show them, not tell them. Show them that you're going to care about them, that you're really, truly committed to their success, because their success is your success. When you're putting their interests ahead of your own, when a prospect sees you're really trying to serve them in sometimes ways that may not even help you, that's a great step on the pathway to becoming a trusted advisor. When you're interested in people as people, you get to know them personally, and you get to understand their company culture. That's on the pathway to becoming a trusted advisor. When you take the time to really understand what's behind what they say, when you dig very deep, find out what their real motivations are, how things are affecting them personally and professionally, and you seek to be understood, understand them, and then to be understood, as Stephen Covey says, that's the pathway to becoming a trusted advisor. Of course, you've got to be reliable. You've got to be believable. You've got to be credible. You've got to deliver on what you say you're going to deliver. I always advise, under promise, over deliver. That's a great step to becoming a trusted advisor. And if you want to become a trusted advisor, you've got to connect with people. You've got to connect with people personally and emotionally. People do business with people, not companies, really. Yes, if you're Nike, you've got a brand name. If you're Apple, you've got a brand name. But Steve Jobs was the face of that. Now, I was never connected to Steve. Didn't know Steve before he passed away, but he did create that emotional connection with people, even though he had a reputation for being kind of an a-hole. He also had that genius, and he had that passion for his products that allowed people to connect with him emotionally. I know for me, when I used to work for another company before I opened my own, people weren't buying DEI. They were buying Jeff and his ability to deliver, or the belief that I was going to deliver DEI's programs. So you want to be connecting with people on a personal level because that's who they're buying from. And you want to be passionate about what you're doing. You want to be passionate about your commitment to helping people. And you want to be enthusiastic about it. I promise you, enthusiasm is contagious. And you also want to make sure you're always yourself. Don't try to be somebody else. Being who you authentically are, warts and all, letting people know that you're not perfect, is well on the way to becoming a trusted advisor. So that's it for today. I'm going to stop the sharing. Let's see, here's some comments. I can't see any of your names. It just says Facebook users. So if you want next time, because I think we'll be using StreamYard going forward unless Zoom fixes the connection between Zoom and Facebook, you'll have to click on that link that I put in. All it does is it gives permission for Facebook and StreamYard to talk so that your name shows up. So good morning, Jeff. Good morning to you. Yes, we can. Don't know what that means. Don Levine, you actually put your name. Hey, Don, good to see you in Westbury, Long Island. Texas, that must be you, Fran. Spot on, Jeff. Commission Breath, I don't know who that is. Good morning to you. Good morning, Jeff. Incredible message, Jeff. Thank you for this morning's value. Well, I wish I knew who was saying all these, so I'll leave you as I always do, even though we're a few minutes early. I believe we do have a guest next week. I can't remember what she does, but I know she's fantastic. I'll figure it out and I'll post it in the notes. But as I always leave you, please, if I can do anything for you personally or professionally, please do not hesitate to get in touch with me. You can always reach me at my email, jeff@jgsalespro.com, my phone number, 516-608-4136, or you can reach out directly through the Sales Pro Network. And always remember, sales is a game of making things happen. So for me and Duke the Beach Pug, get out there and make sales happen. Have a great weekend and a great week, everybody. Speak to you soon.